How is everybody doing today? In this video, we are going to talk about the most recent drip marketing in Starbro, and that is going to be, if I'm saying his name right, that is going to be Anasha. Now, Anasha has a little concerning factor of his, I guess you could say, whole identity, just because we do need to talk about something that I do want to make note of for Erudition, which I feel has changed since the Hera has come out. And looking at Erudition, of course, all of us remember through the path beforehand, before Hera and even Rappa, usually if you have Erudition on your kit, this basically means once you have Erudition on your unit, that you're only going to be good in Pure Fiction. You're not going to be really good anywhere else, especially MOC and Apocalyptic Shadows. But now, of course, we've broken that curse. Rappa is really good in every game mode. Same thing with the Hera. She's absolutely dominating, one of the strongest units currently in the game. And now we have Anasha coming out as Wind Erudition. I do feel like with Anasha's inclusion into the game, there are a little bit more factors that you have to take in consideration versus a lot of the other units and other paths, because I feel like the Hera is just a really strong centerpiece to the Erudition path that at this point I feel like the Erudition path kind of doesn't exist anymore. Not in the way you might have taken that when it comes to what their identity is as a unit, which is primarily AoE but can do a bunch of damage, you know, i.e. Hera. But I think now Erudition path, because of how strong a unit Hera is with her own path, because as you may know, in her relics, not her relics, my bad, inside her traces, she gives 80% crit damage if anybody is Erudition on the team. That's a very, very strong thing to have when you are building a team with the Hera. So now I feel like Hera is now the new definition of the Erudition path, and it's not the same thing for Akron or Fei Xiao, because they still have wiggle room when it comes to whatever paths they're on, because they don't sync as innately with those paths than the Hera does. The Hera is literally, I want Erudition on my team, and if you're Erudition, we all get 80% crit damage, which is of course a phenomenal buff to have. But looking at Hera and looking at the new character that's coming out, Anasha, now I feel like Erudition characters have to synergize well with the Hera if they want to be relevant, because you're not beating the Hera at the current moment, of course, until quite some time later down the line, where maybe there's a new character that somehow power creeps Hera. But for right now, I think what Erudition's path is basically going to delve into is how good can I synergize with Hera. And with me synergizing with Hera, that is where I get my value, which I feel like kind of sucks a little bit. Only because if Anasha were to be a DPS, he would already lose unless he power creeps Hera already. Just because as an Erudition character, going against the Emanator tier variant of DPS is going to be really hard. So what I can expect Anasha to do right now when it comes to predictions is he's either going to be in the same vein as Jade, where he's buffing, or he's going to do something else on the team. Because right now, like I said, the Erudition path is basically how well do I sync up with the Hera, and the Hera's team is basically, for the most part, double DPS, support, debuffer in the same slot, and then a healer or a sustain. So looking at Anasha, I feel like he's either going to be a buffer or he's either going to be a debuffer, just because I feel like that would be the only thing missing realistically from the Hera's team, because she has Jade as a sub DPS, which she could technically act as a support and as a DPS. And then we have, you know, Robin, who usually is the main support most people use just for the advanced 4 and all the extra tick damage that you're going to do. And then we have Linksha as well, who's helping out with the full AoE follow-ups and all the full AoE moves that she has in her kit. Right now, the only section of that team that really needs help is potentially the support area and the sub DPS area. The more AoE we can get, or the more debuffs we can get onto the enemy, allows her to exponentially explode in terms of power. So I feel like we now have a new Erudition curse when it comes to talking about Erudition characters, because now that the Hera's out, everyone kind of has to work with the Hera if you want to be able to compete, because you're most likely not going to beat her in terms of raw power unless we're a couple patches down the line, like I'm talking 4.0-ish type of patches or 5.0-ish type of banners, where Hera's like, okay, I'm pretty old now, it's time for me to get laid to rest, and then you can bring out a new DPS. Right now, I think it's just realistically building up the archetype that is Hera herself and Hera as a team, and looking at that, with Anasha. I think that's the new Erudition curse, where it's like they're not no longer a unit of value for DPS. It's really how much actual value do you bring to Hera, which determines your value. And it's kind of weird because, like I said, Fei Xiao and Acheron don't have this. Fei Xiao, just because she's a hunt character and just because she has follow-up characters as her niche, just because another hunt DPS comes out doesn't immediately make Fei Xiao the, how do I say this? Doesn't immediately make them inferior to Fei Xiao, because they could technically do anything else that they want, even if they're in the hunt path. Because there's nothing that says Fei Xiao gains more buffs with the hunt, which if there was, then she might have been in that situation. And the same thing goes for Acheron. Acheron does like Nihility, but the thing about Nihility is that they all do separate stuff. They all do different things as a, I guess you could say, as a path. You have Kafka with Dot. You have Black Swan with the ability to give defense down, elemental res down, and also a Dot herself. You have Silver Wolf, who's given an implant. You have, who else is Nihility? I feel like there's so many Nihility characters, I'm just blanking. Oh, you have Pella for straight defense shred. Jiao Shou gives ultimate defense down. Like, there's a lot of different variants and pathways when it comes to what Nihility characters can do, that I don't feel like Acheron's in that same spot either, that when a Nihility character comes out, they immediately lose value because they have to get compared to Acheron. Because they're not just DPS, it's actually Acheron is one of the few DPSs in the Nihility path. So looking at, like I said before, Hera, right now we have to start looking at Erudition characters coming into the game, realistically synergizing just with Hera for right now. I don't think we're going to get any type of buffs or any type of power creep for the Hera for quite some time, because I think this is a mainstay unit just like Fei Xiao and Acheron, where these guys are kind of in their own archetype that follow under a bunch of different rules. Like, you know, Fei Xiao really wants people to attack more, so that means if you have advance forward, if you have follow-up, she's gonna get stronger as they get stronger. Same thing goes for Acheron. The more debuffers that we have in the game allow you to do more things in the game. Like we have Jiao Shou. Before Jiao Shou, Acheron really wasn't that great in pure fiction. Of course, she could rock Dockeron, but Jiao Shou took her to the next level. Same thing with MLC and also with Apocalyptic Shadow. Being able to get your ult so much faster allows for a better quality of life, and I could say better battle experience with Acheron to help you out. So I think Hera will be in the same tier as them realistically when it comes to main leaders of a team. I'm gonna say that, leaders of a team. Those three are leaders of a team when it comes to Acheron, Fei Xiao, and now the Hera. And it's really interesting to see this. I really do wonder what they're going to make Anasha do. But we do have a bunch of characters on the horizon that we have to look at, especially with the stream coming very, very soon. Which, of course, now we're talking about Tribi, who's going to be a Harmony character. We're talking about Maide, who is Imaginary Destruction. And then now we have Anasha, that's Erudition with Wind. And previously, we got Casterus, who's Quantum Remembrance. So, yeah, there's a bunch of different characters coming out, all of different shapes and sizes. Because, you know, Tribi Harmony, that's already a pretty big target for people to summon on, just because Harmony characters are just really strong. And then Maide is probably in the lower half of the bunch, just because Imaginary Destruction really doesn't give us a lot. And then Casterus be Remembrance, that is going to be the anniversary unit. She's probably going to be insane. She's probably going to be the Emanator of Remembrance or something like that. And then Anasha, this is probably Hera support for the most part, or Hera something. Other than that, that's pretty much going to be it when it comes to Anasha. It's very interesting to see how Erudition gets itself in these little situations where they're like, oh, you got to do this and that, and then maybe you might be messed up or something like that. I don't know. It's weird, but it's kind of fun at the same time to see what exactly they're going to be doing. So other than that, thank you guys so much for watching. See you on the next one, and peace.